Oh, wait a minute, that's not today. That's... No, we don't have the minutes.
No. Yeah, I understand.
Let me go print some off.
That sounds good.
Yep. Welcome, everybody. This is the meeting of the Laverne Board of Zoning Appeals, January 29, 2019, regular meeting at 5:30. Call the meeting to order. We have 3 people present, 3 board members. That is a quorum, so we will continue. We will not be approving the minutes from the last meeting. The minutes are not available to us. We would postpone approving the minutes until the next regular board meeting. We have 2 items of new business. The first item is a request for variance. The property located at 195 Center Street, a medium-density residential zoning district, parcel owned by Christy Garcia. Mr. Logan, may we have the report, please?
Thank you. This applicant lives at 195 Center Street and is a single-family residence. They are zoned R2, which is residential, medium-density residential. As you can see here, this darker color is R2, so a lot of Center Street is R2, and this lighter color is R1. And the applicant has recently purchased or obtained a storage building. This is the roof of that building, and this is the residence. And then this property here in the foreground is the neighbor, next door neighbor, so you can see all of that. So currently, the accessory structure is sitting in the side yard, and the Laverne zoning ordinance requires that accessory structures be located in the rear yard. They cannot be in the front or side yard. So after the applicant came into the office and met with staff, we took a look at the GIS and zoom in there. So this is zoomed in. So this triangular area is the rear yard. And it is a very irregular lot, which those are the lots, when you think of a variance, a classic variance, this is the lot that they were writing about. And we almost never see it in Laverne. Most requests that come to planning for a variance are a perfect rectangle like this lot here, and on and on and on. So in the classic sense, this lot is very irregular and in some manner would be deserving of a variance. But it's up to this board to decide how to go about that. Some more photographs here. It's a little bit closer in, and you can see here the distance, and I don't know that distance. That's not been divulged to me between the sidewall and the accessory structure. And there's the front of the house. And then over on the other side, so this is the opposite side, but I wanted to get this fence. This is a chain link fence that goes here. It's fencing the front of the rear yard, if you will, and then it takes a corner about here and goes down the side. So they do have that chain link fence in place. And there's quite a few. I didn't count them, but I mean, I would say more than 50 orange flags here in the back. I don't know what that's for. That's another topic that never came up, but maybe the applicant can give some insight into that. And then this is just zoomed out, the same area. See some mature trees here, but they're in front of the fence. And this, again, is the side yard on the opposite side of the house. I think that covers everything, so I'll be happy to answer any questions. Thank you.
Is Christy Garcia here, please?
I am, sir.
Would you stand by a podium, please? Raise your right hand, please. You swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
Yes, sir, I do.
Thank you. Would you state your name and address for the record, please?
Christy Garcia, 195 Center Street, Laverne, Tennessee, 37086. I've been there for 21 years.
21 years.
Yes, sir.
You heard the report from the city planner. Do you have anything you would wish to add or change, or what?
So I know that he was questioning the backyard, and we can go back to those pictures. We tried our best to fit the structure in the backyard with all of the zoning, and we could not without knocking down huge trees and causing major havoc. So we put it on the side of the house to run electrical. It wasn't supposed to be staying there for long. And then my next door neighbor called and reported the structure, and that's fine. But in the process, he caused damage to himself. The fence that runs down the side of the house is actually on my property. He's over 7 feet of my easement. So his concrete that's running down through there, his fence that's running all the way out, that's out in the middle of the right-of-way, his carport, even his two-car garage is actually on my property. None of these pieces that he's built has had permits at all. We bought this house, he bought the house next to us. All we wanted to do is live in peace. We did not do anything, we did not say anything, and he kept on building. So I don't know what else to do. If you look at the back of that building and you mark 7 feet, it is right where it's supposed to be. The concrete culvert, of which I've got the plan for my parcel has the concrete culvert. It has the draining as the marker. And if you go through the draining for the marker, you go back to that picture, it runs right down about like a quarter inch of his driveway all the way down. So he is building on my property. So if you take that, you mark it off 7 feet, it's the back of that building. I'm kind of lost at how else I can place it. I wish this was a Jerry Butler home. I wish they had turned it on Great Hope instead of Center Street. It would have given me a bigger backyard, but they didn't. They chose to put it that way. So.
Any board members have any questions?
My question is for Bo. Just going back to the application, page 168. Do we get the names of the property owners within the 200 feet? Because that's one of our requirements.
So when we purchased the home originally, what we were told was that fence lines could not go past the back end of the house. That was the original property in the area where we purchased. It was part of the contract when we actually signed the contract. I am the one and only owner of that house. Nobody else has been in that house. So when we got the barn, or the shed, it's not really a barn, we put it there as just a temporary. And we walked over to the next door neighbor and said, this is temporary. It's going to be moved. And then we tried to figure out how we can move it in the backyard to accommodate. But even if we tried to move it in the backyard to accommodate, because he's built over the land, my property, I can't accommodate. So now I've got a shed and nowhere to put it, because I have an irregular property and I have a neighbor who wants to take more than his share.
That's it, but if you're just going back to our regulations on the application, it has certain criteria. And for this particular application, we don't have the names of the property owners and existing land use within 200 feet.
Mr. Coates, I know you didn't ask me, but I think, are you referring to the procedure for authorizing special exceptions on page 168?
Yes.
This is a variance request, correct? Yes, it's a variance request. I don't think that.
Okay. just going back to the picture to your left there, just so we're looking at. So the concrete driveway that on your neighbours, that's on your property?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Anything that runs that touches that blue line, that's part of my property.
Do you agree with that, Ms. Logan? From what you know?
She mentioned it when she came in.
And I have actually mapped it through GIS. I have a picture on my phone that matches exactly that.
Mr. Coates, just as a note, I don't usually do these meetings, but GIS parcel lines are only accurate within, you know, a foot or two. That's what we've seen in practice. To have an actual definitive, you know, it's 6 feet or 8 feet away, you'd have to have it surveyed. I'm willing to bet it's within a foot just because that's been our experience around here, but if a foot matters.
So I have the parcel property. Do you want me to present it to you?
No, I understand. I'm just
Okay,
we're
so
in
I'm
a
looking-
situation where are we going to cause more aggravation with the application? I mean, I understand she's put in for it, but there's some other areas to sort out first.
Understood.
You know, which obviously affects your request as far as I'm concerned. That probably need to sort out the other issues first. Otherwise, if we approve this, you're going to cause more aggravation to the neighbour, and let's get the other issues sorted out first. Mo, going back to the pictures on the flags, was that in the neighbour's yard, or was that in whose yard were those?
That is my backyard where we tried to measure out the shed, the size
see.
of the shed from the back of the house and tried to figure out how we could put it back there.
Right.
There's just no possible way.
Okay.
How big a shed you got?
It's a 14 by 24.
It's a good-sized shed.
So recently my fiance was moving in with me, and so he had a house and I had a house, so we had massive house overload. So that's where we were going to put motorcycles and stuff like that. That was going to go in that barn.
Mr. Coates, I think that what you're meant to refer to, and I could be wrong, but it's on page 171 towards the bottom. It's the standard for looking at variances, and it continues on to page 172.
Now, if the fence on my neighbor's property was back to where it was supposed to be, there is a possible way for me to actually have that back there.
That's why my concern is that we could be, you know, fixing one issue and then causing another. If the property line or the property owners had it set up correctly and it could fit in there, she wouldn't be here. She could continue on and work with codes and move on with it.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Coates, I'll rely on staff to my right here, but I believe that the ordinance doesn't permit a shed like this in the side yard. So even though it may be in the correct setbacks, this would still be considered to be in the side yard. Is that correct?
That is
And
correct.
that's why she needs the variance, because I guess the idea is that it won't fit in her backyard.
But if
Yeah.
she gets land property back where it was, what she indicated was it may fit in the back.
It may fit in the backyard if I get my property back.
Would you prefer to be in the backyard?
Right now, because it's wet, and you know the ground's wet, it's going to take me some time to move it. So not without exceptional cost to myself am I going to get it moved quickly. So I don't know how fast I'm going to have to, get this moved, if I need to move it. But, and then too, I can't get it moved back there right now.
Sure, understand.
Because I don't have the land. Jerry Butler didn't give me any choice. And the house is poorly built anyway, but I'm not gonna say that.
I think she needs to get the land property back first before we can.
Well, what I'm wondering is if it would be surveyed,
I'm sorry?
have the land surveyed and find out the true property
My
lines.
son works for a company that does excavating, and he found the pins. It is lining up exactly with the GIS.
the survey pins line up
Yes,
with
sir.
that?
It lines up because if you look on the property map, you will see, when you look at parcel number 3, there is a drainage, there's a double drainage on the right-hand side. And if you line up right with that, that is my property line, and it goes down a 1/4 inch. If you'll go back to the picture with his property and the fence line.
Oh.
Whoever's, it's,
I think it's
Yeah,
this, that
yeah.
one.
yeah, so if you, the drainage ditch is over here, so it would take up a 1/4 of his, all those trees are mine, the 1/4 of that concrete all the way down, all the way through his carport and all the way through his garage.
Why did you put the fence up there instead of the right place to start with?
I didn't,
You didn't?
that's not my fence. All that fencing is his.
Oh,
And the chain link fence that I have on my side, on that side, was put up after he put up the wooden fence, because I had nowhere to go.
If I may, Mr. Chairman, this board's jurisdiction, based on the application before it, is only to either grant or deny
The variance.
based on the facts that have been presented to it. And those standards for looking at that would be on page 172 of the zoning ordinance. If the applicant would agree, wants to agree to defer it to figure out some things on her end, that's certainly a prerogative. Or if she wants to withdraw the application and figure that out. But this board cannot give her legal advice, and this board doesn't have jurisdiction to involve itself in any property line disputes between her and her neighbor.
So we're unable to either grant or deny based upon the information that we have and the authority that we have.
No, you have that authority. That's what your jurisdiction extends to, is you can grant or deny it based on the evidence that you have before it from the applicant and whether there is a need for a variance here. And those standards are outlaid in, on page 172 of the zoning ordinance.
Okay.
And again, I would say, if I had my property back, I would be able to put it where it needed to be.
Would you consider putting this off for a month or two, or however long it takes to have that resolved, that property resolved?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Do you want to request that?
Yes, sir.
So you're going to request to have held in abeyance or put it off, delay it until such time as you get that resolved?
Yes, sir.
There'll be another filing fee if she has to come back here again?
We can't give her legal advice. I mean, if it depends on, I suppose, the deferral, and she's gonna have to work with staff on it. I don't think this is an issue where if it just sits, it'll be approved. Generally, that'll just be with plats, I think. So if she wants to keep staff informed about when she wants to put this on the agenda next, then that's probably the best way to do it. And if too much time passes, at that point, staff might need to reach out to her and
I wouldn't.
suggest what to do. Staff might have a different opinion on it, because I don't run their office. I just run the legal side of things.
The question is, would the city recharge her a fee?
Yes.
I mean, based on past cases, I would not.
Okay. Well, then I would say that based upon the request of the applicant, we'll put this on a deference, date to be determined until you work with staff and come up with an agreement when you want to have it brought before the board again.
Yes, sir.
Dependent upon the action that you take resolving the issue.
Okay.
Okay?
Understood. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Okay, moving on to item number 2, request for special exception to allow auto service repair, property located at 135 Old Nashville Highway, Highway Commercial Zoning District, parcel owned by Kelly Wagdi? Wagdi. I knew if I said Wagdi, you'd say Wagdi. Okay. May we have the report, Mr. Logan, please?
Thank you. This request is for a special exception to allow auto repair at 135 Old Nashville Highway. And you see here, this is an L-shaped lot, and it's right on Old Nashville. Here's the railroad. Excuse me. That's the underpass. Here's the railroad. running northwest to southeast. And it is zone C2, and it's part of this larger area that is zone C2 on the south side of Murfreesboro Road. And the lot's currently vacant. They did bring in a site plan in November, and at that time, it was unclear on their part as to the exact use. And after staff looked at it, it was decided that they must go to BOZA first to hear their request to do auto repair at this location. So here's some photographs, and you can see it's vacant. And these were taken in November. See, there's a building here that's on a neighboring property, but that's not on this site. And there is a gravel, it looks like it at one time many years ago was gravel, and it's sort of grown up, but there is at least a place for ingress egress if the site ever did develop. And this picture's back from there, from the intersection, at the intersection. And again, this is Old Nashville, and here's the stop sign. And the property's back here, so this was taken just for reference, to give everyone a reference point. In your packet is essentially a full site plan that they brought many copies in November, and so we held those over to go into the BOZA packet. So that's what's in your packet tonight, which shows what they would like to build if they go all the way through Planning Commission and are approved. And again, so this is the high point, more or less, and then you go down to this viaduct and the railroad crosses over. So it's a busy area, and a lot going on with traffic there, but that pretty much sums up their request, and I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Okay, thank you. I noticed that the elongated part of the property is fenced in, has a padlock on the fence, it's L-shaped there. Representative, want to come forward? Would you raise your right hand, please? You swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Would you state your name and address for the record, please?
Sure. Jared Gray, Civil Design Consultants, 8170 Coley Davis Road, Nashville, Tennessee.
All right, you heard the report. Anything that you would like to add to it?
Well, sir, just wanted to thank the board for hearing the project and also point out a couple of things. One, this particular individual, the owner and developer, has been in business for 8 years. What we're looking to do, in my opinion, is a benefit to the community. And essentially what we're doing is we're repairing automobiles. Well, it's not something that we have a whole lot of traffic going in and out of. We are looking to, as part of the requirements of the site plan, as you'll see, we've got a sidewalk section that's shown along the roadway there, as well as obviously landscaping and things like that that will be required. So that's what we're looking for. We ask for your approval of the variance request.
The first question that I have is that normally in a repair shop such as this, normally if you take a vehicle in, have repairs, and you're unable to pay for it, then the repair shop sells the vehicle.
Yes.
We would not be ready to approve sale of vehicles there. So then the vehicles would become unsightly because they would be parked there. What would you do in that situation?
The owner is here, but as far as car sales, that's not something that they're doing from this location. They're not, it's not a car lot. You can see in the L, the back section, you can see where that aerial shows some cars parked. I don't know when that was taken. There's not any there now, but that area would be where cars that are currently being worked on would be, I wouldn't use the word stored, but placed until they get into the body shop to have their their work done. So that's essentially what they're looking at doing. We would work with staff when we come in with site plans from a standpoint of screening and fencing to make sure that those vehicles that are there are screened from view. And it's also important to note that this gentleman has been in business for 8 years in the building that is behind this particular
That building
lot.
that's in that photo is his building?
That is correct.
Okay.
Yes, and it's my knowledge they haven't had any complaints, et cetera, for unsightly cars, et cetera.
That property right there has one access point, the road, the dirt road. Will you be using that, or are you going to be using you're going to be using the access road that the other building uses?
No, we currently call for an access basically lining up with where the existing gravel drive is. Only one.
You ascertain that you're going to have a lot of traffic in and out of there?
No.
Because that's
We do
pretty
not- we
dangerous,
do-
especially with the viaduct there.
We do not expect to have much traffic at all,
Okay.
in and out.
Any
You
questions?
can see that we have a grand total of 6 parking spaces called for.
Okay. Any questions by the board members?
Whereabouts is the building gonna be located, on the backside, next to the other one?
The building is on the backside of the pan of that lot. Let's pull the aerial up.
Where the cars are at?
I think it's in here.
Can I approach?
Yes, of course.
This is a proposed building.
Yeah,
This is that.
okay, so the building's gonna be here.
Building would be right here. Yes, sir. This would be.
Maybe you can't tell.
This is where the overflow comes, right?
I'm sorry.
That's where you're gonna put your other cars, right?
That's correct. Those are the cars.
Thank you.
So there's a special exception. So Bo, just going back to our procedure again, do we have the names of the people within 200 feet? Because a special exception, that's what it calls for of our procedure. So I'm just reading page 168 of the application, just states that the applicant should be filed with a BOSA for review. Said application shall show the location, intended use, which they do, and names of property owners, existing land use for 200 feet, and any other material pertinent to the request. So,
Mr. Coates,
yeah.
if I may, the way I think that is read is that the application just requires the names of the property owners who are the applicants who own the property where the special exception would apply, and then there be some sort of diagram or something showing the existing land uses within 200 feet, not the property owners of those lands within 200 feet.
understand that.
Does that
but
make sense?
It does, but I'm just driving towards is that at the moment, the application, what we have from the staff shows service and repair, and we have 2 definitions for service and repair.
Service and repair.
And number 2 is the special exception can only be given for repair. So, I mean, we understand we're just doing repair,
Correct.
okay? So let me just read repair again too, because it's quite specific. Ordinary repair and any building structure improvements or land use for the general repair, adjusting, overhauling, removing, replacing, rebuilding, or reconditioning of automobiles and engines.
Correct.
Okay? So you're not going to be doing anything of, the service says things like exhaust systems, wheel alignments, balancing, brake adjustments.
No.
So
No.
what can be more descriptive of what you're going to be doing as far as repair side?
Essentially, it is a body shop is what I would determine. It's not a Valvoline instant oil change. It's not a place that you're bringing your cars in to have the oil changed or maintained. It is a body shop. Cars that are in a wreck or some type of collision are there, they're repaired, and
Okay.
that's it.
So with that, would the intent be to put a paint booth in the facility?
I'm sorry?
A paint booth we put in the facility for painting?
There could be paint in that facility. Yes,
If you're doing body work and you don't do paint, it would be very surprising.
that is correct.
And then just want to read on that no vehicle can be repaired shall remain on property for more than 45 days. That's been one of our issues we run into, is that people come in for one thing, end up doing something else.
Absolutely.
And Mr. Coates, I think those are valid points. In granting, if the board is going to grant the special exception, it can place any conditions upon the proposed use of the buildings or land as it may deem advisable in furtherance of the general purposes of the ordinance. So you could, presumably, if the board is inclined to, you could grant the special exception for auto repair and condition that upon that there's going to be no auto service. And that's the special exception that will run with the land and the buildings.
I understand you're a civil engineer, but I'd like to hear that from the owner.
Sure,
That's possible.
absolutely.
Just to clarify things, just to make sure we know what we're doing.
Would you state your name, please, and your address for the record?
Yes, I do.
You swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
Yes, I do.
Thank you.
Do you understand what we're referring to?
Yeah, my son, he come with me, can help me for.
That's fine. I just
Yeah,
want to
I
make,
understand
understand, you know, that we know what you're asking and what we may or may not approve, but I'll make sure that we understand that clearly.
My name is Wagdi Khalil. I'm an owner for the land 135 Old Nashville Highway. Yeah, I know عشان ما بحبش. احنا نقول لهم ان احنا متأكدين ان عنده حنان يعمل فيه كده والبلد دي كمان نقول لهم. Okay. Yeah, the new property only for body repair and paint and everything. Because already I have one behind this building.
Understand?
Yeah, I have almost 8 years. I have new contract with the owner, couple years more, for the small business, for the small service.
Okay.
But the big one, I need it for big service. Because I have experience good for.
Understand? But so I'll be slowly, so you will not be doing dismantling or recycling of vehicles? Dismantling or recycling?
No.
Okay. You'll be doing no servicing. Definitions include but not limited to lubrication, cooling, electrical, fuel and exhaust systems.
No, it's commercial, yeah.
Okay. Do we want to talk about the surface pavement? The pavement?
This is the special exception. If that goes through, they're going to have to go to planning commission to get approved for the building. So we're just handling the special exception.
Okay. Any other questions by board members? Entertain a motion to approve or disapprove the petition.
So I'm making a motion to approve, subject to them adhering to the automobile repair as definition within the city regulations.
I'll second that motion.
Okay.
All in favor?
Aye?
Aye. Approved.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So much.
There being no further business, this meeting is now adjourned.